Good morning. Hello and welcome everyone to our webinar. Our topic for today is Local Veterans Employment Representative Refresher. Now, I would like to introduce you to your first speaker, Exit Smith.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Exit Smith, State Veteran Program Coordinator. Been in the seat since November 2nd. Really happy to be here, excited about all the changes that are coming up. Now, first off, I want to thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do every single day for our Florida veterans. It's amazing. I know it's going to hopefully get really busy soon with the things changing and with hopefully COVID-19 kind of dying down, most people getting vaccinated or herd immunity or whatever they call it. But anyway, we had a lot of interest in the lever refresh training that MVTI was doing. Unfortunately, that class filled up so fast we couldn't get anybody in it. So we decided we would do it ourselves. So I'm glad that everybody's here. Had a good day yesterday. I think we'll have a great day today. And Mr. Mark Brennan and Wilda Crows will be doing your training today. And again, just thank you for what you do, and I really hope you get something out of the training, and hope you ask a lot of questions, and we look forward to answering them. And thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Brennan. I am Regional Veterans Program Coordinator for Local Workforce Development Boards 1 through 9, and I will be going over the first half of today's training. So this morning we're going to talk a little bit about a little JVSG program overview, the authorization and guidance for the program, the principal duties of a lever, dive into a little bit of facilitating veteran services, capacity building, employer outreach, some DVOP coordination, employer service codes, and at the end we'll have a little Q&A session. Summed up, basically the JVSG program prepares veterans, transitioning service members, and eligible spouses for meaningful employment. Those individuals are connected to Career Center and community resources to help break down and mitigate any barriers to employment. And once those barriers are broken down or mitigated and the veteran or the individual is work ready, the lever will go out and advocate on behalf of them to help get them employed. So the structure of the program, where does it all come from? So the program is funded by USDOL vets, comes down to the state level, Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, or DEO. And then DEO administers the JVSG program in coordination with the 24 local workforce development boards. And that funding creates the positions for the DVOP, the lever, and the consolidated position. It also creates the state's Veterans Program Office, which is comprised of the State Veterans Program Coordinator, the Regional Veteran Program Coordinators, and the Intensive Service Coordinators. And the role of the State Veterans Program Office is to ensure consistency and excellence in program service delivery through provision of technical assistance, policy, training, and monitoring for all the boards. So staff roles and responsibilities. DVOPs provide individualized career services to eligible veterans, and levers build relationships with employers within the community and then utilize those relationships to help veterans get employed. And the consolidated position serves as both a DVOP and a lever. So where do we get our guidance from? Well, Title 38 of the U.S. Code gives authorization for the program. And then from there, USDOL vets takes that guidance and sends out veterans program letters to further expand upon what's in Title 38. And then at the state level, state takes that and then sends out administrative policy down to the local workforce development boards, and then they create local policy and procedures.
Important to note that for lever and DVOP staff, local policy takes precedence as the LWDBs are the functioning managing entities. In the absence of local policy, DVOPs and levers should refer back to state and federal guidance. So VPLs are issued by USDOL vets, and they provide operational guidance that clarify program requirements, and they outline the principal duties for JVSG staff. In the state level, DEO provides state-level operational guidance to local boards in the form of administrative policy, memorandums, and communiques. State guidance is intended to operationalize State Workforce Board's strategic plan and vision while establishing a consistent service delivery system across all 24 boards. Although all local board management and JVHG staff should be familiar with all active VPLs, today's training is just going to focus on those that outline the roles and responsibilities of the leaver, which are VPLs 314, 710, and 719. So VPL 710 is one of the earliest forms of guidance that DOL set out to basically attempt to clarify the role of JVHG staff in the Career Center. It has been superseded by more recent federal guidance, specifically the sentence in there that refers to a leaver providing career services to veterans and the DVOP specialist is not available. VPL 314 superseded that and stated that leavers are prohibited from providing individualized career services to veterans. But VPL 710 does remain an important piece of guidance for understanding the leaver role and the relationship between the leaver and the DVOP. VPL 314 further expands upon VPL 710 and defining the DVOP and leaver roles and responsibilities. And it discusses the relationship of the JVHG services as part of the larger workforce system, and it establishes the criteria which restricts DVOPs from only serving those with significant barriers to employment. This is the primary guidance for leaver staff, and they must be familiar with it. Then we have VPL 719, which discusses the Quarterly Manager's Report on Services to Veterans, also known as the Veteran Quarterly Manager's Report, or the VQMR. The VQMR tracks the Career Center's services to veterans as well as program performance and compliance. All right, so next we'll do a little knowledge check. Go ahead and type your answer in the question box. Primary source of guidance for leaver staff is administrative policy issued through DEO. Is that true or false? All right, that is false. The primary source of guidance for leaver is local policy and procedure. Remember, in the absence of local policy and procedure, leaver should refer back to the state and then federal guidance respectively. Next question, the Jobs for Veterans State Grant is funded by the U.S. DOL Employment and Training Administration, ETA. True or false? All right, most of you get that correct. That is false. Primary funded by U.S. DOL vets. Okay, so what are the principal duties of a leaver? Basically, you got two of them: conducting employer outreach to assist veterans in getting employment and facilitating employment training and placement services furnished to veterans in the Career Center. Both VPLs 710 and 314 outline and 719 outline the specific functions and actions necessary to carry out these principal duties. First, let's take a look at facilitating veterans services. So part of facilitating veteran services is capacity building, which is training your staff on the JVHG program and the mission of the JVHG program within the workforce system. You have service delivery strategies, which are your local policies and procedures that leavers need to be a part of, at least if not creating those policies and procedures, the leavers must know them inside and out to execute those strategies that you train on. Then you have the manager's report, which is performance and compliance with the veterans program. So in capacity building, the leaver is the subject matter expert of the JVHG program. It is the responsibility of the leaver to train all JVHG staff, including DVOP and consolidated positions, on the requirements and any changes in the program. This includes onboard training for new staff, as well as refresher training that may be conducted annually. It's also the leaver's role and responsibility to train Career Center staff on topics such as the advantages of hiring veterans and the Career Center's ability to assist those veterans. It's also the leaver's responsibility to train the employer community, specifically the Career Center's ability to assist federal contractors meeting their veteran hiring benchmarks, which are monitored by the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, OFCCP. Leavers also must provide quarterly training to all Career Center staff on prior service. It's also strongly recommended that leaders provide training on the process of veteran intake at the Career Center. Priority of service is required for all U.S. DOL funded programs. That ensures that an eligible veteran or spouse either receives access to a service earlier in time than a non-covered person, or if the resource is limited, that veteran receives access to that service instead of or before that non-covered person. Leavers must familiarize themselves with both Administrative Policy 111, which is priority of service for veterans and eligible spouses, and Policy 105, WIO of priority of service. It's important to understand the requirements of each policy, as leaver staff are required under Administrative Policy 111 to conduct quarterly priority service training in the Career Center. If you're thinking that you haven't seen Administrative Policy 111, that's because you haven't. That's a new policy that I believe just got approved yesterday and should be sent out to the local boards very shortly. Administrative Policy 102 requires that local boards have a written policy to ensure DVOP specialists serve targeted populations. This local policy must include procedures to screen individuals who are at the Career Center for the purpose of obtaining employment, to identify as veterans, transitioning service members, or eligible spouses. The screening should be conducted using the veteran intake form or a local equivalent, and the leaver should be included in the development of the local policy, or at a minimum, be familiar with its content. It's recommended that the leaver provide regular training to all Career Center staff on the requirements laid out in the intake policy. And then we have the VQMR. State Veterans Program Office is currently revising the VQMR, and one major revision will be that the report will be furnished to the local board with pre-populated performance data. We're going to run the data up here at the state level, and we're going to send it out to you and say, here is your data. And the leaver will be responsible for completing the sections pertaining to leaver trainings and any job or career fairs, performance measures which were not met, success stories, best practices, and suggestions for the program, and any staffing information. All right, another knowledge check. The principal duties of the leaver include employer outreach and facilitating veteran services in the Career Center. Is that true or false? All right, that's true. VPL 710 and 314 specify the activities necessary to perform the principal duties of the leaver established in legislation, which are conducting employer outreach and facilitating employment training and placement services. Now let's talk a little bit about employer outreach. So there are different components to employer outreach, and one of them is the business services team. The leaver should be a part of the business services team, which allows them to coordinate with partner programs, which in turn helps with the veteran advocacy part, which through business services team involves employer contacts and visits, career fairs, job search work groups and workshops, and things like that. And it's also important to remember that the leaver is part of the business services team, but they must also work with their DVOP counterpart to help their SBE veterans gain employment. Whenever a DVOP has a work-ready veteran, that leaver then goes out into the community and advocates on behalf of that work-ready veteran, either through job developments or just individualized advocacy. So, like I said earlier, basically summed up what the leaver does is creates and establishes relationships with employers in the community, and then utilizes those relationships to help veterans gain employment. And, one of the best ways to establish relationships with employers in the community is through employer outreach. And in doing so, employer outreach should lead to job orders, job developments, and even some OJT opportunities. So before you go on that outreach, it's important you do your research. What's your target? Once you identify the employer, what's the employer do? Do they have any current job openings? What are the programs or incentives that the Career Center can offer that specific employer? And then most importantly, if they are in employed Florida, make sure you review those codes and case notes. You don't want to walk into a business and discover that your business services team counterpart just walked in there 2 days earlier. Cody and I were leavers together down in local board 21, Career Source Palm Beach, and we're leavers for a couple years together. This is one of the things that we always had ready, and I'm gonna put him on the spot and see if he still remembers his. But 30-second elevator speech. Cody, go.
Okay, so a 30-second elevator speech probably go a little something like this. Hello, my name is Cody Melton and I work for Career Source Palm Beach County. Career Source is a nonprofit taxpayer-funded organization designed to connect the job seeker with the employer. We offer many services to include recruiting services, on-the-job training, federal bonding, and the work opportunity tax credit. All of these services are at no cost. We also provide priority of service for our U.S. military veterans. Which service would you be interested in exploring today?
Thank you, Cody. So it's important to have your 30-second elevator speech ready at all times. You never know when you're going to run into an employer or just a member of the community or anyone that will ask you what you do or what the Career Center can do to help businesses or help veterans or anything like that. I was sitting in my office at one time, and my CEO at the time walked in with the mayor and said, introduced myself and said, tell the mayor what you and what Career Source does to help veterans and employers in the community. And luckily I had my 30-second elevator speech memorized and ready to go, and I was able to spit that out. But you want to have that ready at all times. Pitch that to the employer, market your programs, get that business card, and then get next steps. But when you're marketing your programs, you want to build a standard outreach folder to take with you on every single outreach, and that should include pamphlets and information on all the programs the Career Center has to offer, like the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, OJT, federal bonding, all that stuff. You don't have to be a subject matter expert on each program, but you want to be able to speak intelligently on it in case an employer asks a question. For example, an employer asks, what's that Work Opportunity Tax Credit thing? You should be able to say you hire veterans, disabled veterans, or other persons with disabilities. You can receive up to a $9,600 tax credit at the end of the year. It's all done through the IRS, and I can provide you with a link with more information if you'd like. So you don't have to be very specific on it, know all the different numbers that go into it, just a basic overview of the program, and then be able to point them in the right direction to get the information. And then make sure you follow up. Follow up with the employer, record your activities and case notes in employed Florida, and then follow through with everything you told the employer you would do. So if you told them, hey, I'll send you the link for the WTC, or I'll get you in touch with the person who does OJTs at our center, make sure you do that. All right, so DVOP coordination. In executing the principal duty of employer outreach, leaver staff should concentrate their efforts on job development and individualized advocacy activities for veterans, determined jointly by the DVOP and the leaver that they are work ready. It's basically in a team approach. The DVOP specialist provides services needed to prepare the individual to be work ready in order to be referred to a leaver for job development and individualized advocacy. These activities conducted by the leaver provide additional opportunities to veterans and eligible spouses that effectively facilitate the individual's return to meaningful employment. So basically, I'll hit this on the next slide. Here's just a working map of it. So the veteran gets back to the DVOP. DVOP provides individualized career services to help eliminate or at least mitigate the barriers to employment. DVOP then designates that veteran work ready. Then we'll have a case conference, which is basically the DVOP, the leaver and the veteran will sit down together or virtually. That's when the leaver will agree with the DVOP that that veteran is work ready. And then the leaver will then get to know everything about that veteran, just the kind of employment they're looking for, any barriers they may have, anything, the whole overall picture of that veteran. And then once that happens, then the leaver goes out into the community and advocates for that veteran to get employed, and then the veteran becomes employed. It's a win for the team. So also through that DVOP coordination comes job developments. So what is a job development? Basically, the definition is the process of securing a job interview with an employer on behalf of a specific job seeker when there's no suitable opening in employed Florida. Now, there's two key words we want to hit on in that definition. The first one is the process of securing a job interview. There's a misconception out there that you can only take a job development code if the veteran gets an interview with the employer. And that's not the case. It is the process of securing that job interview. So what is the process? It would be having the veteran fill out the application for the employer, delivering the resume and advocating for that veteran to the hiring authority of that company. So just remember, it's the process of getting that job interview, not having to have a specific job interview. And then the second word that definition we want to hit on is suitable. So obviously, if you have a veteran that wants to be a security guard and there are 0 security guard jobs in employed Florida, then job development contacts need to be made. However, if there are 5 security guard job orders in employed Florida, but all 5 of those job orders are 50 miles away from where that veteran lives, and the veteran doesn't have a mode of transportation, then that veteran can't work those jobs. So they're not suitable for that veteran. So now we need to go out and we need to do job development contacts. So just remember, if you see job orders in the system, that doesn't necessarily mean they're suitable for that veteran. We need to do a little more research. We need to check and see if they are suitable for that veteran. And I just want to, well, I'll do it on the next slide. I just want to touch on how important job developments are for our veterans and SP, especially our SPE veterans with a lot of barriers. No other population really comes into the Career Center and gets an individual person to go out in the community and advocate for them specifically. So a veteran just won't be number 900 in an online queue of 1,000 people that applied for a job that might not even get past their online screening system or the HR department. Where that lever goes out, gets in front of that hiring authority of that employer or that company, and puts that resume down on the table and says, here's veteran X, here's why they're so awesome. They have a few barriers, but here's what they did to overcome them. They may be worth a look. That is a huge advantage for our veterans. And another thing job developments do is they provide access to the hidden job market. The majority of jobs in America are not advertised on a job board. So job developments are a huge, huge advantage for our veterans, and especially our SPE veterans. So recording job developments in a lever in employed Florida, that would be employer service code E33. And then we'll get into the case notes. So we have the key elements of a job development case note. You need the job seeker's name, the date of the contact, position or title being developed, the name of the person the staff spoke with at the business, other information made available, what the lever did. Did you provide the resume? Did you get an interview scheduled? Just what happened? And then the fact that there are no jobs or no suitable jobs currently on file on employed Florida. So when you're doing the job development case note template, when you're doing the case note, you want to put the information in bullet format first. We have employer name, point of contact, phone number, address, and then the position you're trying to develop. And then you come down and you, below that, and you put it in paragraph form. So met with Freddie Smith, manager at Broward Manufacturing, on behalf of veteran job seeker Antonio Melendez. Presented veteran as a possible candidate for a receptionist position. Provided Mr. Melendez's resume. Lever reviewed employed Florida and no suitable positions exist. So they have each required element in both bullet format first, and then in a paragraph explaining what happened. Now, unfortunately, not every job development will lead to a placement, but when it does, make sure you create that job order in employed Florida for that specific position that you developed. Have staff refer that veteran, close out that job order immediately, and then you enter your direct placement code. That's a good segue into employer service codes. We're going to touch on a couple of the most common E-codes that leavers utilize in their daily activities. And that first code is going to be an E01, an on-site visit. That documents a physical in-person visit by staff to an employer's place of business or an employer's visit to the local board to market career center services and other employer-related activities not otherwise captured by a different E-code. This is going to be your outreach code to a business you already have an established relationship with, or an employer that has already used the career center services in the past. And this probably will be your most frequently used code. Now, this code differs from the E50, which is employer outreach visit. That documents when staff conducts outreach to veteran employers to discuss services that the local board can offer. It's important to note that this code should be used for employers that have never used the career center services before. So that's how it differs from the E01. Remember, employers never used the career center services before. That is an E50 employer outreach visit. All right, we have the E04, mass recruitment. That documents when a recruitment event happens either at the career center, the employer's place of business, or another location with the local board's involvement. E07, this is probably going to be used a lot, or has been used a lot here during our COVID era, where outreach in-person visits were limited. But that documents a marketing call a local board makes to a business to promote the local board's business services. They can serve as an introductory call, an alternative to on-site visits, follow up to employers who haven't had any activity in a while. And this is the code you use if you interact with an employer virtually through a Teams outreach or a Zoom outreach. This would be the code that you use. All right, we have the E27, employer contact. It documents when a staff contacts an employer at an event, such as a chamber meeting or a job fair not sponsored by the local board, to obtain new accounts, discuss services, job orders. Basically, if you're not planning an outreach, going out to an employer and you're out at an event or something else, and you run into an employer and you pitch Career Sources services to them, that's an E27 employer contact. E34, job order, documents when staff obtains a job order from an employer. Pretty self-explanatory there. And the last code we're going to hit, E02, job fair services, documents an employer's participation in a job fair conducted by or in conjunction with local board staff, or staff's participation in a job fair on behalf of an employer. Every employer that attends your job fair gets an E02. All right, little knowledge check. Which of the following is an expected outcome for employer outreach? WIOA applications, Wagner-Pizer services, job orders, or case management? All right, let's see, job orders. Good job there. And last question, job development is the process of securing a job interview with an employer on behalf of a specific job seeker when there is no suitable opening on file. True or false? That is true. All right. This is our state team up here at the state with our contact information, and that concludes our training for today. So now we'll open it up to any questions. Can we put in multiple E34s for multiple job orders, or can we put one E34 to capture them all? The answer to that would be one E34 for each job order. So if you obtain 20 job orders from an employer, you need to enter 20 E34s. And you can do one case note capturing all the job orders listed. If you want to say receive the following job orders from Coca-Cola, and then list job orders down to do one case note, you can do that, but you need to do 20 individual E34s. The next question, we receive a E-code guide, updated E-code guide. So we are currently updating the E-code guide, and that will be sent out to the boards shortly. So the next question, in our region and within our local policy, we have a regional training coordinator that oversees all staff training. For new and existing employees, will this operating procedure still be possible? So again, it's up to your local policy and procedure, but it still falls under the leaver's responsibility to train all staff and on the JDSG program. All JDSG staff for the DVOP and consolidated positions for refresher training and new onboard training, as well as the Career Center staff for intake and fighter service. Okay, so it looks like that's it for questions. If you do have any questions after this training, feel free to send them to your regional coordinator or to state coordinator, Ankit Smith. Speaking of Ankit Smith, I will turn it back over to him.
I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today for this Lever Refresh training. Obviously, this is, it's obviously over, web.com or go to web. So it's not like our training would be if it was one-on-one. If you do feel that you need some one-on-one training or you want training for your local workforce board, please reach out to us. That's what we love to do, any chance that we can. But I do appreciate you logging on today and also those that logged on yesterday for that round of training. And thank you for what you do every day for our veterans.
All right, that concludes today's training. Thank you very much.